Sparkies! Last week I told you that I would tell you what happened to Jacob. I am glad that you came back to find out what happens to him. We all make promises that we don't keep. Maybe you promised your mom that you would clean your room right after school, but you went outside to play instead. Or maybe your best friend told you a secret and made you promise not to tell anyone, but you told someone anyway. Maybe your teacher or even an adult you like made a promise and broke it. We all break promises. Sometimes it's our own fault. Sometimes something happens and we can't help but break it. The point is, we all break promises. We are going to hear about a promise that God made to a man and how God kept his promise. God has never and will never break a promise he makes. Why? Because he's God. He can't break a promise, and he wouldn't want to break a promise. We are learning about Jacob. We've talked about Jacob before. He tricked his brother Esau and his dad Isaac. He got everything he wanted by tricking them. But Esau was so mad that Jacob had to leave his home. That's where our Bible story begins. Jacob left his home and is traveling by himself to go live with an uncle he doesn't even know. So Jacob is alone and traveling on the road in the dark. First of all, he was probably walking. They didn't have planes, trains, or cars. Some of the richer people had camels, but most people walked. And instead of stopping for the night in a hotel, Jacob slept outside by the side of the road. That meant he had to use a rock as a pillow. A rock! Can you imagine what your neck would feel like when you woke up the next morning? Oh, he probably had a sore neck. So Jacob settled down on the side of the road with his rock pillow and went to sleep. While he was sleeping, Jacob had a dream. In his dream, he saw a big ladder that went from earth all the way up to heaven. There were angels going up and down the ladder, and God stood at the top of it. Then, in his dream, God spoke to Jacob and told him that he, God, would protect Jacob as he traveled and bring him back home. I'm going to read Genesis 28:15. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land. For I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. When Jacob woke up, he was so encouraged and excited about his dream that he took the rock he had used for his pillow and stood up and poured oil on it to show God that he believed what God said. Jacob knew God would keep his promise. Now, let's fast forward to later in Jacob's life. Jacob leaves the place where he had the dream and travels to his uncle Laban's home. While he lives there, he works in the fields and with the animals. After 20 years, 20 years, Jacob is able to go back home. God kept his promise to Jacob. God never told Jacob how long it would take or when it would happen, but he promised that it would happen. God kept his promise. God used dreams to talk to people before they had the Bible. Today, God talks to us through the Bible. God keeps all of his promises. He has promised us in Hebrews 13 that he'll never leave us. That means he'll always be with us. We can pray to him when we're scared and when we're lonely, but we can also pray when we're excited and happy. He'll always be there to listen. He also promised that when we trust Jesus Christ as our Savior, we'll live forever with him in heaven. We're human and we all do wrong things. We make promises that we don't keep, but God is perfect and every promise he has ever made is true. Have you trusted Christ as your Savior so that you can know that you'll live with him in heaven? The Lord promises to never leave us. For your activity, draw 2 pictures of places where you often go. Is the Lord with you in those places? Yes, he is. That's what he promised. Post them on Facebook so I can see them too.